James had never asked for glory. He was a maintenance technician aboard the human colony ship Perseverance, content with fixing air recyclers and patching hull breaches. When the Drakari Empire intercepted their vessel near the Gamma sector, he expected imprisonment or death, not a wedding ceremony. The Drakari were ancient. Their civilization had flourished for 12 millennia, while humans still huddled in caves. They were magnificent beings, reptilian, with scales that shimmered like molten metal, wings that could span 30 feet, and eyes that held the weight of centuries. Their warriors were legendary, their diplomats feared, their matriarchs absolute, and 4 of those matriarchs now stood before James in the grand hall of the Imperial warship Ember's Claw. "The treaty is clear," High Matriarch Silvera announced, her crimson scales reflecting the ceremonial flames. At 847 years old, she was the youngest of the 4. To solidify the alliance between humanity and the Drakari Empire, a human male must bond with our council. "Your captain offered you." James's fist clenched. Captain Rodriguez had sold him out to save 800 colonists. He couldn't blame her, he wouldn't have. But standing here in ceremonial robes while 4 dragon women examined him like a prize stallion made his blood boil. The other 3 matriarchs circled him. Valora, 203 years old, ran a clawed finger along his shoulder. Thesica, at 456, studied him with analytical golden eyes. And ancient Morvesa, the eldest at 2,034 years, simply smiled with teeth that could tear through starship armor. "He's so small," Valora murmured. "Fragile," Thesica added. "Perfect," Morvesa concluded. The ceremony lasted 3 hours. By the end, James was legally bound to 4 alien women who could collectively remember the rise and fall of 17 galactic civilizations. The Perseverance was released. The colonists continued to New Terra, and James was taken to the Drakari homeworld Paraxis. The first month was hell. The matriarchs expected subservience. In Drakari culture, bonded males were decorative, pretty things to showcase status. They expected James to sit quietly during war councils, to smile during state dinners, to be seen and not heard. James lasted 4 days before he started talking back. "That's a terrible strategy," he interrupted during a fleet deployment meeting, pointing at the holographic display. "You're leaving your supply lines exposed." The room fell silent. Silvara's eyes narrowed dangerously. "What did you say?" "Your fleet positioning," James continued, either brave or suicidal. "Any competent enemy would cut off your logistics here and here. You'd be stranded in hostile space within 2 weeks." Thesica leaned forward, her scholarly nature overriding her offense. "Explain." He did. For an hour, James outlined tactical flaws in their centuries-old military doctrine, flaws invisible to those who'd fought the same way for generations. Humans were new to space warfare. They had fresh perspectives. They'd learned from their mistakes quickly because they couldn't afford not to. The Drakari listened. By month 3, James was attending council meetings as a participant, not decoration. His insights on resource efficiency revolutionized their mining operations. His suggestions on ship maintenance extended vessel lifespans by 23%. His understanding of human psychology helped negotiate trade agreements with 6 species the Drakari had struggled with for centuries. But it was the little things that changed everything. One evening, Valora returned from a border dispute exhausted and frustrated. James made her tea, a human custom, but the warmth and the gesture transcended species. He listened as she vented about stubborn ambassadors and impossible demands. He didn't offer solutions, just presence. She cried that night for the first time in 3 centuries. Thesica's research had stalled on a quantum mechanics problem. James wasn't a physicist, but he asked questions, simple, stupid questions that made her reconsider fundamental assumptions. The breakthrough came at 3 a.m., and she kissed him in excitement, forgetting for a moment that humans bruised easily. Morvesa told stories of ancient Drakari, of wars and wonders. James listened with genuine fascination, asking for details, wanting to understand. "You make me feel young," she admitted one night, her ancient eyes soft. "Like the world is still full of mysteries." And Silvera, fierce, proud Silvera, learned that strength wasn't just about power. When James stood before the Imperial Senate and defended a controversial decision she'd made, using logic and passion to sway opinion, she saw him differently. Not as a human, not as a bonded mate, as an equal. The turning point came during the Krelthar invasion. The Krelthar were a hive-minded species that had consumed 17 systems. When they reached Drakari space, they expected easy conquest. After all, the Drakari fought with honor, following rules of engagement that were older than most civilizations. James had no such restrictions. "You want to beat them?" he asked the War Council. "Stop fighting their way. Stop being predictable." What followed was unprecedented. James coordinated a campaign that used misdirection, guerrilla tactics, and psychological warfare. The Drakari, guided by human cunning, became unpredictable. They struck from shadows, used enemy expectations against them, adapted faster than the hive mind could process. The Krelthar retreated after 6 months, something they'd never done before. The galaxy took notice. 5 years after his forced marriage, James stood on a balcony overlooking the capital of Piraxis. His 4 wives joined him, their wings creating a sheltering canopy. "Do you regret it?" Silvara asked quietly. "Being taken from your people?" James considered the question. He thought of Jessica, his sister, who'd sent him messages full of pride about his accomplishments. He thought of the Perseverance colonists, now thriving on New Terra, protected by the alliance he'd helped forge. He thought of the Drakari, whose culture had evolved in just 5 years more than the previous 5 centuries. "I was forced into this," he said slowly, "but I chose what came after." Velora rested her massive head on his shoulder. "You changed us." "You let me," James countered. "That was the real choice." Thessica's tablet chimed with another research breakthrough. Morvessa hummed an ancient song. Silvara's hand found his, her scales warm against his skin. The galaxy had expected a human to break under the weight of ages. Instead, James had shown them something else. That youth had its own wisdom. That change wasn't weakness. That love could grow in the most unlikely soil. And across the stars, humanity's reputation shifted. Not as conquerors or warriors, but as something more valuable. As people who could walk into an ancient civilization and teach it to dream again. James smiled. He was still just a simple maintenance technician at heart, but he'd fixed something far more complex than air recyclers. He'd fixed the gap between worlds,